Hello again, this is Joe Parks, an application engineer with Cole Morgan, who focuses support on the KAS IDE software and PCMM2G EtherCAT master controllers. This is the second video in a series going over the new OPC UA server setup. The first video went through all the setup but without any extra security or authentication. And in this video, I'm going to go over in the KAS IDE software and in the web server what you need to do to set up certificate level authentication. I'm going to continue using the same project that I created in the first video in this series. So if you skipped over that, you may want to start there and watch how I opened the field bus editor, added an OPC UA server setup, created multiple groups, and added tags or variables inside them to be able to be shared with OPC UA clients. But now I'm going to go in and just make a couple of changes. So before we just did the anonymous authentication. So I'm going to uncheck. I don't want anyone to be able to connect anonymously anymore. And I'm going to use certificate level authentication. And under security settings, click use certificates. I'm going to keep this default path and the server certificate and private key. Click OK. And then the only other change on this second level of the field bus editor, I can either double click to bring up the pop-up from over here on the right, or I could have done it right from here. Double click the localhost and then the port number. And in security policy, instead of doing none, we have 3 different security policies if you're using the certificate level authentication. I'm going to choose basic 256 SHA 256. Okay. So that's all I have to do on the KAS IDE side, but there are a number of things I have to do through the web server in order to get my PCMM2G ready to do certificate level authentication. You can get to the web server through the KAS IDE software by right-clicking controller, doing access web server, but there are a few things you actually need to have a web browser in order to do to set up the certificates on the controller. So I'm going to go over to my Edge browser. I've already entered the IP address. I could redo it just to show you don't have to type in that whole thing. Just the IP address will do. It'll load this default page. Then I can log in. The default username and password is administrator, all lowercase, which you could certainly change. And then once logged in, I'm going to click on this settings tab. First note, you would have to have the date and time set up because the certificates are based or only valid for a certain amount of time. So you're going to want to have the date and time on your controller correct. So the PCMM2G, unlike the first generation controllers, does have a battery backed up clock. To set it up the first time, you can either come in and click load host date and time. It'll just load whatever is on your computer that's running the web server. Will be loaded into the PCMM2G. And you can also optionally set up synchronization with an NTP server, either through the web or that's local, on the machine. And then whenever the controller boots up, it will reach out to that NTP server to make sure it has the correct date and time. It can be synchronized with other devices on your network. So once I know I have the right date and time set up, I can click on the Certificate tab. And you will have to create a self-signed certificate for the PCMM2G by entering just your organization name and then a period in days of how long you want that certificate to be valid for. I already created one with 365. You can see that if I look over here, I already have one installed. It was created a while back when I was first testing this feature. But once new user enters your organization name, how long you want it to be used for, you just click this Create Certificate button, and you get a pop-up saying it was successful, but you do have to cycle power, restart your PCMM2G before it's able to be loaded. So once you do that, the web server waits for the controller to reboot, and it reestablishes connection again. And then in order to download that file, in order to use in OPC UA client setup, at least through Edge, and it's similar in other browsers, you would click on the security for this page, this connection. Since I've already had it imported, it already says it's secure. Yours might say it's unsecure at the beginning. And then you can click this button that's showing a certificate. So this is what's issued by, and this is the IP address of my PCMM2G controller. It starts out in the General tab, and then you'd switch over to the Details tab, and there's an Export button. And it'll just allow you to save it, wherever you want on your PC. I already have it saved, so I'm going to cancel out of that. But then once you have it saved through your Windows File Explorer, you can find that file, right-click it, and there is an Install Certificate option. So this is, I'm just going to install it on my computer to use that same UA export software that I used to test the feature without certificate level security before. But now I'm just going to import it in my computer. You would do Install Certificate. Current user is the default. Click Next. Click the radio button to place all certificates in the following store and click Browse. And in the next pop-up, choose Trusted Root Certification Authorities. Click OK. Click Next to go to this final screen, and then you'd click Finish. But once again, I've already done this, so I'm going to cancel so it doesn't take any more of our time. And that's how you create the self-signed certificate for the PCMM2G, and how you can save the file and install it on a device such as a computer. Then you also would have to import a certificate for the client that you're going to use. And I've also already done that. So you can choose a file, and if you're using the UA export software like I am just to test it, I already copied the location. So it's going to be on your hard drive users, the name of your account. I am Joseph Parks. App data, roaming, unified automation, and then UA export, PKI own, and then you will click on search for certificate. And this is where they place the UA expert.dar. That is the file extension for a certificate. But once again, I've already imported it, and once you do, it'll show up under the already imported client certificates on the web server. So these are the steps that I had to do in the web server in order to get that certificate feature ready for use. So now I can go back to my KAS IDE software, compile and download, because I did make some changes in the field bus editor, to my PCMM2G, and then I will start the project. Now that my project is up and running, I'm going to switch over to the Unified Automation UA Expert software, just like I did in the first video. But now, instead of using the anonymous sign-on, I'm going to use a certificate level of security. So just like in that first video, I'm going to right-click Servers and click Add. And then I'm going to, instead of entering the IP address manually, since I've already connected to this controller before, pick the IP address of my PCMM2G, open up, and once again, instead of doing the none, I'm going to do the basic 256 SHA 256 sign and encrypt connection. And then you're going to have to pick the certificate and the private key. This is located in that same area of your computer that I showed you before. Users, your username, app data, roaming, unified automation, UA expert, PKI, own, and then search for certificate. And then the folder is private for the key, and that has a .pam file extension if you're looking for something to search. Click OK, and then it's going to establish a connection. Note, it is going to have me, I'm going to click this accept the server certificate temporarily for this session, or I could trust it. Continue, I might have to click ignore once or twice, but it will then establish a connection just like it did anonymously in the first video. I can then, open the PLC and see my different groups, the different variables, and just like I did before, I can verify that not only can I monitor the values, but I can, in the case of the read-write ones, change the status of them. So for instance, direction, I can double click, and now it is true on my controller. I can start running a project, enable them. Oh, I still have the safe torque off removed from recording the first video. So if I go back, it is communicating the fault description, not just the number, but also the string. And then the Boolean true, there is an error. Let me return the SDO signal to my controller, clear fault. Now I can enable and start running. And I see the positions start incrementing, and I can verify that it also is communicating those variables with my OPC UA client software. And I also want to point out, just as I did in the end of the first video, we have context-sensitive help in the KAS IDE software. So when you have a certain section highlighted, you can hit F1 and it will go to that section of documentation. So we not only have help for the Fieldbus editor, we also have help for the web server. So if you need help on those different screens that I went to, the certificate creating and importing, we have help just built into the KAS IDE software. And we also have a new PDF OPC UA server user manual. And once again, there are sections not just for using anonymous login, but also with certificates. And once again, that is located in the download section of our website, which is on the top right. There's a download button, and the product is KAS. The type is documentation. You will find an OPC UA user manual. Thanks for watching this second video and learning how to do the certificate level certification authentication with the KAS IDE OPC UA server.